Robert's dog Bella was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and though devastated, he decided to make her last days special by going on long walks together. Each day they would explore a new park, lake, or forest, and Robert would take a selfie with her. He wanted to create a collection of moments, preserving memories he could revisit once she was gone. The vet's words echoed in his mind. The cancer was too advanced to stop. Even amputating the affected leg would only extend Bella's life by a few months. So with a heavy heart, Robert dedicated his time to make her feel loved and appreciated in every moment they shared. On one such outing, they were exploring a forest they hadn't visited before. Bella, despite the cancer, trotted between trees on her 3 legs, her eyes sparkling with a spirit that refused to give in. Robert felt bittersweet watching her. He cherished her loyalty, knowing she had stood by his side when others had left. His marriage had crumbled years ago, and even his family had become distant. But Bella had been his constant, his friend through everything. Now, she deserved all the happiness he could give her. As they moved through the forest, the weather took a sudden turn. The sunny sky was swallowed by thick clouds, casting an eerie shadow over the trees. The change was abrupt, almost unnatural, as though the forest was playing tricks on them. Robert paused to take their routine selfie, kneeling down beside Bella and snapping a quick shot. Smiling at the memory, he pocketed his phone and continued their walk. But as he glanced at the selfie a few minutes later, a chill ran through him. His hand trembled as he zoomed in on a strange shape in the background. It was faint but unmistakable. A figure with dark, hollow eyes lurked just behind them, its expression a disturbing mixture of sadness and anger. He blinked, trying to shake off the unsettling feeling. His logical mind told him it was probably a trick of the light or a glitch in the camera, but his gut screamed otherwise. He glanced up, searching the trees and shadows around them, but everything appeared normal. Bella seemed at ease, trotting a little ahead and sniffing around. However, his sense of calm had evaporated, and the forest felt oppressive, almost watching them. The usual sounds of nature birdsong, the rustle of leaves had gone silent, replaced by an unnatural stillness. Then Bella stopped abruptly, her gaze fixed on a nearby thicket. She started growling, her body tense as if sensing something he couldn't see. Robert's heart raced. He wondered if there could be a predator nearby, though this forest was generally safe, frequented by families. Wild animals rarely ventured this close. Trying to calm himself, he took a deep breath, but his gut feeling told him they weren't alone. The atmosphere grew colder, and a gust of wind rustled through the trees, as though urging them to leave. He noticed Bella's tail raised a sign that she was on high alert. He called her gently, hoping to get her moving again, but she remained frozen, her eyes locked on the bushes. His instincts told him it was time to go, so he clipped the leash to her collar, ready to head back to the car. Just then, he noticed another alarming detail, a large, deep footprint imprinted on the damp ground nearby. The recent rain had preserved its shape, and it looked fresh, almost too fresh. Robert tried to dismiss it as someone else's footprint, maybe left by a passing hiker, but the size and shape seemed unnatural. Bella, still tense, pulled on the leash, her eyes darting in the direction they had come from. Robert felt a shiver crawl down his spine, and he decided it was time to get out of the forest as quickly as possible. They moved quickly, nearly jogging back the way they had come. His nerves were on edge, and every snapping twig made him jump. Bella, usually calm, kept looking back, occasionally letting out a low growl. The forest felt alive, pressing in on them from every side, and he couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. His hand instinctively tightened on the leash as he quickened his pace. Suddenly, Bella bolted, pulling hard enough to slip free from the leash. She dashed off the trail, disappearing into the dense woods. Robert's heart sank. He called out to her, his voice echoing back as if swallowed by the trees. He couldn't lose her, not now. Without hesitation, he sprinted after her, following her barks that grew fainter as she disappeared deeper into the forest. After a few frantic minutes, he spotted her just ahead, barking furiously at something hidden behind a large bush. He approached cautiously, ready to grab her and leave, but what he saw froze him in his tracks. Emerging from behind the bush was a massive bear. The animal was close enough that he could feel its presence, its deep, watchful eyes locked onto him and Bella. Fear coursed through him as he realized there was nowhere to run. He was trapped, with only Bella standing between him and the bear. But then something extraordinary happened. Bella, instead of retreating, calmly approached the bear, her tail wagging gently. To his amazement, the bear responded, lowering its massive head and sniffing her with surprising gentleness. It was as though Bella had established a connection with the bear, as if they shared an understanding he couldn't fathom. The bear emitted a low growl, not of aggression, but of something that felt almost sad. The bear turned and lumbered away, glancing back as if beckoning them to follow. Hesitantly, Robert did, keeping a cautious distance but trusting Bella's instinct. They followed the bear through the woods, eventually arriving at a secluded area where an old, dilapidated cabin stood. The bear led them inside, stopping by a large, open hole in the floor. Curious, Robert peered down and was surprised to find 3 small bear cubs trapped below. Their cries were faint but unmistakable. The mother bear seemed to glance between him and her cubs, her eyes filled with desperation. She had brought them here to help her family. Seeing the cubs down in the hole, Robert's heart softened, and he realized the mother bear had been leading him here for help. Determined to assist, he searched the cabin, hoping to find something to aid in the rescue. He found an old ladder lying against a wall, rusty but still intact. Carefully, he lowered it down into the pit, hoping it would be sturdy enough for him to climb in and out with the cubs. He descended slowly, murmuring words of reassurance to the frightened little bears. They huddled together, watching him with wide, nervous eyes. Moving gently, he picked up the first cub, holding it close as he climbed back up to the cabin floor. The mother bear watched, her gaze filled with hope as he safely placed her cub beside her. One by one, Robert carried each cub out of the pit, reuniting the family. When the last cub was safely back with its mother, she let out a deep, rumbling sound of relief. The bear gently nudged each of her cubs, licking them to check for injuries, then looked back at Robert with a strange, almost grateful expression. In that moment he felt an unspoken bond with the animal, a mutual understanding and respect. Bella sat beside him, her eyes bright with pride, as if she too knew they had done something extraordinary. Before long, a team of rangers arrived, alerted by Robert's earlier call for help. They examined the cubs and determined they were healthy, though shaken from their ordeal. The rangers reassured Robert that they would transport the bear family to a nearby wildlife sanctuary for care and rehabilitation before releasing them back into the wild. As the bear and her cubs were loaded into the transport vehicle, Robert felt a mix of sadness and fulfillment. Bella seemed to sense his feelings, nuzzling against his leg, her tail wagging softly. He crouched down beside her, scratching behind her ears, realizing that Bella's instinct to follow the bear had led them to something truly meaningful. It was a moment he would cherish forever. In the days that followed, Robert returned to the sanctuary to check on the bears. He watched from a distance as the cubs played, their mother now healthy and protective, her eyes no longer shadowed by worry. The staff thanked him for his courageous actions, noting that without his help, the cubs might not have survived. The experience deepened Robert's bond with Bella, reminding him of the strength of their connection. As Bella's health declined in the weeks that followed, Robert made sure she experienced every moment to the fullest. They continued their walks, creating memories that he would carry long after she was gone. Bella's bravery, loyalty, and heart would remain with him forever, and every photo he'd taken became a testament to the special journey they had shared. One final evening, as they sat by a lake watching the sunset, Robert whispered his gratitude, thanking her for being his steadfast companion and his friend. Bella leaned her head against him, and in that silent moment Robert knew that her spirit would always be with him.